When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendivite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendivite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendivite's effect on circulatory related ailments. Get Extendivite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1 877 928 8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, June 3rd, 2019, start of a brand new week here, start of a brand new month. And we have got lots to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. That's 800-313-9443. Sam is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with the comments and questions. So getting right to it, Trump is back in Great Britain, in London, for his second state visit. They're just now sitting down to the banquet. Bush finished giving his little speech, and there was a great deal of concern that he might talk about Brexit because the royals like to keep themselves above that, but I was unable to see whether he mentioned that or not. So Trump is there. He's in Buckingham Palace, invited in by Queen Elizabeth. He's not staying there. He's staying at the U.S. ambassador's residence. But they rolled out the red carpet for him, and there was all this pomp and pageantry, and now the banquet. And Trump and his wife Melania were greeted by the 93-year-old monarch at Buckingham Palace at the start of a 3-day state visit, which will see Trump feted with the full force of royal ceremony, the formal dinner with the Queen, which is happening right now, tea with heir Prince Charles, and a tour of Westminster Abbey, coronation church of English monarchs for 1,000 years. And it is an impressive place. Okay, so we already talked about the possibility. They're concerned he's going to bring up Brexit. Meanwhile, of course, there are just all these protests in the streets, and everybody's taking pot shots at Donald Trump. Nigel Farage, who I would have presumed was politically aligned with Trump, being a nationalist, basically came on out swinging at him for, being bad to all kinds of people. And London's Mayor Sadiq Khan tried to lecture Donald Trump. All of us should be feminists, at which point Trump compared Sadiq Khan to, quote, dumb and incompetent, end quote, New York City Mayor de Blasio. So the childishness continues to escalate here. Now, a lot of people are wondering, where is the big Trump baby blimp? Well, it turns out the original one is being given to a Sadiq Khan funded museum. And they had just a much smaller one today that was being, I guess, towed around by BBC presenter Victoria Derbyshire. So that's why it wasn't quite as large. And showing just how high feelings are. When Trump was on the approach to landing at the airport, when Air Force One was on that final approach, looking down at the fields, you could see messages mowed into the grass. One of them said climate change is real. The other was more obscene and had a graphic of the male anatomy into it. So we do seem to have lost our civility. We really, really have. Over in France, The Yellow Vest protests are continuing. The police brutality has been extreme. Even though they claim they're using non-lethal weapons, they're causing a lot of damage. So many people have been injured. They're forming their own subgroup to the Yellow Vests. They're calling it the March of the Mutilated. And basically, they had a rally yesterday, and the demonstrators carried banners showing their injuries, such as lost eyes and limbs, that various protesters have received over the past few months, and demanding a ban of these so-called less lethal weapons used by police. Hope they get that here. Now, one of the things that Trump is doing while he's there on his state visit to Great Britain, the word is they're going to hammer out a post-Brexit US-UK trade deal, ready to go at a moment's notice. And that's going to ease the economic shock, especially if it's a no-deal Brexit. So that's one of the things that they're doing. And the other thing that Trump is doing is he's once again approaching the members of NATO and saying, you guys have to spend more on our mutual defense costs, because it can't just be the United States. So he's out there pressing European members to commit more to defense spending, and at the same time saying, please buy your weapons from American companies. Now, he's even gone so far as threatening to pull the United States out of the NATO bloc if they don't start ponying up the cash for American-made weapons. So U.S. officials are out there saying, you know, EU and NATO could be left alone in the face of threats like Russia. And that's silly. Russia's not interested in invading Europe. They've got enough of their own problems over there. Okay, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And over by the coastline with Iran, the U.S. sent a carrier battle group and a strategic bomber, a B-52, to do simulated strikes near Iran's maritime borders. So this involved the USS Abraham Lincoln, multiple fighter jets and helicopters, and the B-52 strategic bomber. And they're just running around there making a lot of noise. But so far, they're not live firing any weapons that I'm aware of. Now, the IAEA has issued its quarterly report saying that Iran is still staying within the limits on its atomic activities set by the P5+1 deal. They're still keeping to the agreement with those other countries. The only country that's broken the agreement is, of course, the United States, when it just unilaterally pulled out. But Iran wants the deal to continue. The other signatories want the deal to continue. So far, everybody is playing by the rules, but Iran is saying that the other signatories have to help soften the blow of U.S. sanctions, or Iran will pull out and start increasing enrichment, which is exactly what, pardon me, the U.S. government wants. Down in Syria over the weekend, in fact, just yesterday, Israel fired missiles onto a Syrian military air base in the country's central Homs province. Excuse me a second. Okay, I'm back. This is the second such attack over the past 48 hours. The strike on the T4 airbase killed one soldier, wounded two others, and damaged an arms warehouse. In addition to the Syrian army, Iranian fighters and Hezbollah paramilitary forces were also stationed at the airbase, according to the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which very often is less than wonderfully accurate. Also in Syria, U.S. warplanes last Friday attacked and destroyed 3 oil trucks that were traveling through Syrian Kurdish territory. At least 4 people were killed in the course of the attacks. Now, there are not a lot of details. The U.S. hasn't issued a formal statement. The tankers are believed to have entered from Iraq and were heading toward Assad territory. Since Syria lost all their oil-producing regions in the war, they have to import what minimal oil they can get to keep their economy and their military going. Over in the Syrian town of Azaz, they've been hit by a deadly car bombing, killed at least 14 people, wounded dozens. And a war monitor said it's not immediately clear who was behind the attack. But I don't think they were friendly. Now Governor Andrew Cuomo announced yesterday he plans to make a solidarity trip to Israel following the end of the legislative session, which sunsets June 19th. What is it with all these governors, American governors, flying on over to spend time in Israel? I mean, who are they really working for? They're supposed to be working for you, the voters, you, the taxpayers. That's who they're supposed to be working for. Apparently, tensions around the Al-Aqsa Mosque are building up again. And, pardon me, Hamas is blaming Israel for repercussions of attacks on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Basically, there have been numerous incursions by the soldiers, by the illegal settlers, clashes with the worshippers, and Hamas is saying the Israeli occupation has to bear the responsibility because the ongoing assault and raids on Alaska by Israeli occupation and forces and settlers are only going to make the Palestinian people more determined to defend the mosque and preserve its sanctity. Absolutely. So, apparently last Friday, just before Friday prayers, there was a Palestinian child was just walking into the mosque and the Israeli soldiers shot him dead. 16-year-old Abdullah Louay Geith from the southern West Bank city of Hebron. And apparently they opened fire on several other Palestinians who were trying to enter the Al-Aqsa Mosque from the Wad Abu al-Humus area near the villages of Al-Qas and An Noman, east of Bethlehem. So apparently quite a few of these kids were injured, but the 16-year-old was basically, he was shot right through the heart. Just trying to get to prayers. Now, a lot of people are still talking about Jared Kushner and his deal of the century and how he's going to kick it all off with this upcoming U.S. workshop for Palestinians in Bahrain, which is basically about offering the carrot, getting the money flowing, getting investment going into Palestine. And this author is out there saying that he doesn't see that there's much chance for it to succeed. For some reason, for one reason, some of the major players are boycotting it. The Palestinians aren't going to show up. And too much of the deal of the century has leaked out. Everybody knows it's DOA. It's a non-starter. And of course, Kushner keeps shoving his foot into his own mouth here. He came out with an interview broadcast yesterday, pardon me, that the Palestinians deserve self-determination, but then said he's uncertain they can govern themselves. Well, Jared, I hate to challenge you on your knowledge of history, but the Palestinians were self-governing just fine before the Khazars showed up. Meanwhile, Netanyahu is out there and he's already campaigning for the new elections in September. And he's out there playing the tough guy, the war prime minister. And he gave a speech commemorating the Israeli occupation of Jerusalem, the West Bank, Gaza, and the Golan Heights, and basically declared Israel will never leave those areas. Since the 1967 Six-Day War, the Arab residents of these territories have lived under a military occupation with no representation in the Israeli government. So some are seeing that Trump recognizing the Golan Heights as a part of Israel as a precursor to him recognizing the rest of the territories occupied by Israel since the Six-Day War. Boy, if he does that, that is going to kick up a major, major fuss. Again, last Friday, the European Union criticized Israel over having confiscated aid for the Palestinian school children, and they're just going to sell it off. The supplies included 2 school structures that have been consigned to Ibzig community, 2 tents, 3 metal sheds to the Al Hadiyah community. The Israeli forces simply grabbed them, and they're going to basically auction them off. And no, the Palestinian school children will not get the money. Boy, you can tell it's the start of a brand new week here. Over in our Congress, there is a bill working its way through the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and if it becomes a law, it would authorize the United States to give Ukraine anti-ship and anti-aircraft weapons to defend against Russia. And this was put together by Chairman Eliot Engel, Democrat of New York, joined by Michael McCaul, Republican of Texas, and they proposed the bill last Thursday. It would also ask the president to determine whether Ukraine should be a major non-NATO ally, condemn Russia's detention of 24 Ukrainian sailors, and urge Russia to implement the Minsk II peace agreement. Boy, that's rich. The U.S. government urging another country to stick to an agreement here. Frankly, I think if Putin wants to tone things down, returning those 3 ships and those 24 Ukrainian sailors would be a good way to do it. All right. Excuse me just a second. I don't know what I'm having in my throat today, but my voice is not good. So basically, they're talking about giving Ukraine these weapons, which supposedly will interoperate with the ones being bought by NATO. That's the big thing. It's all networked together. And this does go back a long while. I mean, the original Aegis ships were designed to be networked together. Then they took it up to the next level with Aegis CEC. Little software problem with that. And now they're trying to just network all the weapons in the field so that they can be controlled by very, very fast, powerful computers who we hope will not make a mistake. Down in Sydney, Australia, 3 Chinese warships arrive for a supposed secret visit, and it raised a few people's ire because only a few days ago, China's Navy confronted an Australian vessel in the South China Sea and apparently had targeted Australian helicopter pilots with lasers, which, if they're powerful enough, can be a very, very serious thing. So apparently footage emerged of the warship's arrival into Sydney earlier today, with sailors lined up on the ships in combat uniform, some of them carrying guns. So it's a little less cordial than it might otherwise have been. So the appearance of the People's Liberation Army Navy frigate, an auxiliary replenishment ship, and an amphibious vessel docked at Garden Island comes amid heightened concern about Beijing's growing clout and military muscle flexing. So everyone's getting nervous over there. Now, Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte is saying that the South China Sea is becoming a flashpoint, and he urged progress on a code of conduct, how everybody gets to go wherever they want, everybody gets to share the resource-rich area. China's claiming sovereignty over most of it. There are competing claims from the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, Taiwan, and Vietnam. Of course, part of the problem is that right now China is not disposed to get along with anybody because of the way they're being treated with the trade war. Amazing here. Okay, last week we were getting these news reports about how negotiating officials from the Trump-Kim Jong-un summit were being purged, and how some had been executed. And the story just seemed funny to me, so I really didn't go with it. But apparently there was reason to doubt, because a senior North Korean official who'd been reported as purged over the failed nuclear summit was shown in state media enjoying a concert along Kim Jong-un. So Kim Yong-chol sitting next to Kim Jong-un and other top officials. So it looks like that was more fake news to demonize North Korea. All right, we're going to take another break here for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Down in Venezuela, a little bit of bad news for Maduro. Russia's state-controlled military contractor, Rostec, has been providing armaments, other materials to Maduro's regime, including Kalashnikov rifles, helicopters, tanks, and aerial defense system. It has also, until recently, had about 1,000 technicians in place to train the Venezuelan military personnel how to maintain that high-tech equipment. Well, now that's just been reduced to a few dozen because apparently Maduro hasn't paid Rostec for months. So the company is being forced to pull the plug. And U.S. sanctions, particularly on Maduro's Central Bank of Venezuela, have made it all but impossible for the bank to sell off what remains of the country's gold reserves to raise the cash to pay Rostec's bills. All righty. Turning to our domestic politics here, over at Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton is saying, the latest revelation of stalk page emails show that the FBI leadership, including James Baker, rushed to turn over FBI email investigation documents to Hillary Clinton just before the election. I mean, there's collusion, there's corruption. Okay. The poll numbers regarding the question of impeachment, unfortunately for Trump, are going up. April's poll found that 69% of Democrats favored impeachment, and a month later, May, 76% of Democrats support the measure. It showed that 75% of Democratic respondents believe the investigations into Trump are justified, while 74% of Republicans believe they are not. The poll showed 41% of all Americans are in favor of Trump's impeachment. That's up 4% from the poll CNN released in April. There are still 54% of Americans who don't think Trump should be impeached, with 5% having no opinion on the issue. Amazing. Now, evangelist Franklin Graham is warning that if Trump is impeached and brought down for whatever reason, it could lead to a civil war. And yes, I think it could. Rolling Thunder is an advocacy group that seeks to bring full accountability for prisoners of war and missing in action service members of all U.S. wars. The group's first demonstration was in 1988. It was incorporated in 1995. It has more than 90 chapters throughout the United States as well as overseas. Every year on the Sunday before Memorial Day, hundreds of thousands of Rolling Thunder motorcycles travel to Washington, D.C. to call for full accountability for POWs and MIAs. Just last week, more than 1 million Rolling Thunder bikers converged in Washington, D.C. That's a lot of bikes. That is a lot of bikes. Okay, let's look at the economic news here a little bit. Global recession fears mount as manufacturing PMIs around the world confirm contraction. It's a fancy way of saying manufacturing is slowing down because nobody is ordering products right now. Experts are saying there is a high chance of a recession by next year. So make the appropriate preparations to deal with that. Article coming out of Investment Watch blog, for U.S. and China, it's not just a trade war anymore. It's turning into something worse. Beijing is now targeting FedEx. And the defense minister warns this is a fight to the end. Their defense minister. Pardon me. British Steel is in serious trouble between the high cost of electricity, because they're using electric kilns, and the carbon taxes they have to pay. According to this headline, they've gone bust here. Lynette Zhang is out there saying that gold is certainly in an uncertain world, is a certainty in an uncertain world, and she's absolutely right. In fact, right now, gold is spiking against the yuan, and did a very sudden up jump. Okay. We've been talking about just how serious the student loan problem is, and it was a scam. Costs of college went up way beyond that of inflation. Financial aid all but disappeared for the middle and lower classes. So these kids wanted to go to college. The recruiters would say, look, you can come on in here, get a student loan. When you get out of college, you're going to get a high-paying job, and you'll just pay that loan off in no time at all. And, of course, it didn't work out that way. Those high-paying jobs aren't out there. In fact, most of those high-paying jobs are in other countries. And that is where the American college graduates are now moving to escape the student debt. They're leaving the United States. They're going to countries where they feel the bill collectors can't catch up with them. That tells you how bad the situation is. All right, we're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're going to go to the phones to Tony in Puerto Rico. Aloha, Tony. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hello, Mike. I saw that documentary that a young lady spoke about, Europa, the last battle.
Yes.
And I didn't know that Adolf Hitler said, the hell with the central bank. I'm printing my own money, and that's it. And one other thing, that he was the only leader in the 20th century, I believe, who arrested a Rothschild. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Okay, and another thing, if a country decides to print its own money and say also the hell with the central bank, and if that country is left alone, would it prosper, Mike?
Well, yeah, any economy that's running in a perfectly balanced form is going to do very, very well. That's what happened in Germany when they got rid of their private central bank and they started a state bank and a value-based currency. It was denominated in unit of labor, and the German economy lit up like a Christmas tree. They called it the German miracle. Time magazine put Hitler on their man of the year. And of course, this terrified the other bankers because countries that are enslaved by private central banks simply cannot compete. So they had to figure out a way to get rid of it, just like they had to get rid of the early colonial currency, which wasn't being borrowed from them by interest. And that's a big part of what the American Revolution was all about, was having our own currency that was balanced and fair and honest, or being forced to continue to use currency that was loaned at interest by the usurers over at the central bank.
Yeah, and my other question is, why did Winston Churchill hate Germany so much? Was it personal or was it political?
It was more political than anything else. He didn't really hate them. He just recognized that they were a major economic threat to Great Britain. That a Germany that was up and industrialized and manufacturing could basically take the economic focus away from Great Britain. And so, yeah, that's why Churchill was just campaigning very hard for these wars.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go. Okay, let's talk about immigration here. There's some developments that we need to be paying attention to. There's a video that got shot down by the Rio Grande. The video was shared by the Customs and Border Protection. It shows a group of 116 people from Africa just walking across the water into Texas. Specifically, they come from Angola, Cameroon, and the Congo. And if you have been following along closely, you know there is a risk with anybody coming in from the Congo who's not being, quarantined. They could introduce Ebola into this country. So this open borders issue, it's no longer just a political crisis or an immigration crisis, it's a health crisis. Alrighty, apparently there's been an incident down on the U.S.-Mexico border in California where a Marine was attacked inside his vehicle by 3 people, and he had to scare them off by discharging his weapon. So that's how tense things are getting down there. All right, this may be the sign of a capitulation. Maybe. We'll see what actually happens. Mexican President Manuel López Obrador hinted over the weekend he's prepared to tighten migration controls and reach a deal with Trump to prevent the implementation of tariffs. And López Obrador said Mexican officials will begin negotiations with the Trump administration in Washington, D.C. this week. He says we're going to do everything that we can do to reach a deal through dialogue. Well, I'm sorry, but it's all like talk and dialogue, sounds like to me. That Obrador may be stalling for time. What a mess all these people have made of this world. This used to be a nice planet. Anyway. Okay. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban and Jordan Peterson slam illegal immigration during a meeting. And the Hungarian Prime Minister and the Canadian academic are both known to be staunch opponents of the uncontrolled illegal migration that's been pouring into the EU since 2015. And so Orban met with Canadian University professor Jordan Peterson, who was attending the Brain Bar Festival in Budapest to discuss an array of topics. Namely, the two discussed the acute issue of illegal immigration, agreeing it's both necessary and dangerous. Rather unnecessary and dangerous. Yes, it is. It is completely unnecessary. Europe didn't need additional workers, let alone additional criminals. Apparently, over 600,000 migrants, more than 500,000, entered Great Britain last year. Twice as many as the number who migrated to France, and nearly the entire population of the city of Belfast. So that kind of stuff can change the demographics. It can change the voting. Up in Sweden, there's been a bit of a tiff. They have had a holiday called National Day, the National Day Feast, and following demands from locals, it has now been changed to Eid al-Fitr, and that in turn has triggered a lot of outrage. Now, Angela Merkel has gone on a verbal tirade against Donald Trump, and she spoke to Harvard University, and she used most of that speech to urge graduates to tear down walls of ignorance and narrow-mindedness. Now, she didn't mention Trump by name, but she attacked several cornerstones of the Trump presidency, including protectionism, free trade, and climate change. Those first two sound self-contradictory. In a further jibe, the 64-year-old chancellor called on the students to tear down walls, the opposite of Mr. Trump's 2016 battle cry when he promised to build the wall to stop immigrants crossing the border with Mexico. Pardon me. While drawing on her own experiences of life in former East Germany before the fall of the Berlin Wall, Ms. Merkel said, "Tear down walls of ignorance and narrow-mindedness, for nothing has to stay as it is." Now, she's a hardcore globalist. We know that. Don't know how much longer she's going to be in power, but she's going to go out just pushing open borders here. Alrighty, an ally of Jeremy Corbyn was suspended today after being recorded complaining the Israeli embassy and 68 rabbis in London are behind a conspiracy to engulf Labour and its leader with anti-Semitism claims. And Peter Wilsman, a member of Labour's ruling NEC Executive Committee, claimed that Israel has planted agents in the party specifically to damage its reputation. And it wouldn't be the first time that's happened. If you think about it, Israel needs anti-Semitism. If there's lots of anti-Semitism, they get lots of money. If there's lots of anti-Semitism, get lots of special privileges in the law. So that's how the game is played. Story coming out of Voice of Europe, according to a recently done study, only around 20% of Germans are comfortable expressing their opinions freely in public. Most feel like censorship is already taking over, especially when it comes on the taboo subjects of refugees and Islam. The study also found that most Germans feel comfortable expressing their views among friends, but not in public, because there are too many unwritten laws which opinions are acceptable and which are not. Well, if you give up your right to freedom of speech, you've basically surrendered right there. That may have been what got you into trouble the last time. Over in Finland, they're looking at a plan to put electronic footwear on immigrants who've had their asylum applications rejected so that they can keep track of them leading up to their deportations. And I think it's a good idea. I think it's a very, very good idea. Alrighty, Nancy Pelosi is on the warpath. She absolutely hates Donald Trump's pro-American merit-based immigration plan. And obviously, I think most people would see it as common sense. We want skilled newcomers over chain migration. So Nancy Pelosi has taken aim at Donald Trump and has recently rolled out merit-based migration plans through his Slovenian-born wife and her parents, who became U.S. citizens less than a year ago. She lambasted his plan as an idea designed to make America white again. So she's saying, I don't know if merit counted for it when his wives came into the country. I don't know. Maybe it did. God bless him if it did. But he calls that chain migration. So, all right, let's talk about John Cleese. John Cleese got into a little bit of trouble last week with a tweet saying that London is not really an English city anymore. And he was roundly attacked by London Mayor Sadiq Khan, saying he's reverted to his character in Fawlty Towers. And John Cleese stood his ground. Basically came on out and said, I cannot accept a culture that accepts female genital mutilation. And obviously I agree with him on that one as well. So, okay. Lately, there's been a lot of material released by the FBI tarnishing the image of Martin Luther King. And last week, conservative media outlets have been leaping on a report that claims FBI agents told each other that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had 40 extramarital affairs and even stood by and laughed while his friend raped a woman. In hearing those allegations, we must all remember that the FBI has zero credibility and took part in the attempted treason against President Trump via the Russian collusion hoax. And the FBI's war against the civil rights movement, Black Americans and Dr. King in particular, is legendary. So the FBI has been corrupt to the core long before Comey came along, and underscored the depths of treason and criminality that have long festered inside a once trusted but no more institution. So these allegations against Martin Luther King sound a lot like the Trump dossier. Anyway, okay. A while back, we had somebody call into the show with this claim that the movie actor Errol Flynn, who played in The Adventures of Robin Hood, among others, was a Nazi spy. And this came as a bit of surprise for me. I know that they used that theme in the movie The Rocketeer, where they had a character who was obviously based on Errol Flynn, who did turn out to be spying for the Nazis. But that's a movie. So apparently there was this gentleman named Chaim, and he wrote this one book in 1980, Errol Flynn, The Untold Story. And in the work, he alleged that Errol Flynn was a bisexual fascist sympathizer who spied for the Nazis before and during World War II and had affairs with Tyrone Power, Howard Hughes, and Truman Capote. Now, two other authors, Tony Thomas in Errol Flynn, The Spy Who Never Was, and Buster Wiles in My Day with Errol Flynn, the autobiography of a stuntman, basically attacked Chaim's claims as fabrication, a claim substantiated by viewing the FBI documents, which had been altered rather than quoted verbatim. So, yeah, it looks like Hayam just wanted to have a sensational book to make some money with. That's the reason for a lot of literary hoaxes. Just get some money. Have a sensational book and you're off and running. Okay, poor Boeing. They are in trouble once again. And this affects the 737 MAX model alongside the NG. And it turns out that up to 148 leading edge slat tracks inside the wings have defects. They have faulty parts that were produced by a Boeing sub-tier supplier, and they're saying it could affect up to 133 NG and 179 MAX planes worldwide. Now, what they mean by the slats, if you've ever sat by the wings during the plane is taking off, you will see there's a leading edge extender that just pokes out a little bit and curves down. That's the leading edge extender. That's what they're calling the slat. And it's basically, there are these little arms that go back inside the wing, and they ride along this little track on wheels. And it's fairly straightforward, but the component is under a huge amount of strain. And so it's got to be made absolutely perfectly. Now, having the slats fail in flight is not going to lead to a crash, but it could lead to damage to the aircraft in flight. So I don't know what Boeing has been doing, but the FAA is going to issue an airworthiness directive to mandate Boeing service actions worldwide. Got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Terry in California. Aloha, Terry. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, you're talking about the FBI and Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes.
Well, don't forget, they were partners in his assassination, from what I can tell, them and the Memphis police.
Yes.
And if they didn't actually pull the trigger, they set everything in motion to be able to have that done. And anyway, have you heard that, excuse me, the NSA has virtually turned over all their information to the Israelis?
Yes.
The Israeli government. And, you know, we know who's in charge of this country, you know, just from that one act. And that's why I'm kind of against the impeachment of Trump, because we're going to get them. We're going to get Pence. And he's as bad as Trump, if not worse, when it comes to Israel. You know, he bows down in front of them even more so than Trump does. And that's my main argument against impeachment. But you said that the slats on 737 couldn't cause an accident. Well, it caused an accident in Chicago on the DC-10 on one side when they took off. I forgot what year it was, maybe about 30 years ago, and everybody was killed. And I've had, as an aviator, I've had experience with slat problems myself.
Okay.
But anyway, you know, you talked about this immigration, the Ebola epidemic, and these people from central Congo in quarantine. Well, somebody had to facilitate getting them here, just like all these refugees. I mean, somebody just doesn't wake up in the Congo and say, oh, I got Ebola. I think I'll go to the United States. Somebody's got to...
Yeah, they didn't swim across that Atlantic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And the last thing I wanted to ask was, you know, I don't know who that is, but I think, you know, to get the bottom of all of this stuff, we need to get better intelligence at the top level. And I can't believe it's just the Democrats wanting people to come in just for their voting. I think it's much more deep than that, you know, and we don't know about that. There's some way we could just penetrate the top levels, you know, but I don't know how to do it.
Well, I'm kind of look at Robert Heinlein's view of the world that accident and stupidity are the governing forces of everything that happens to us. And I know a lot of people would feel reassured if they were aware of some governing body that appeared to have their act together, appeared to be intelligent, well-educated, and thinking things through. But I don't think it's out there. And I think that's going to be very scary for a lot of people. That what we have here are a bunch of little tiny factions, each out for its own personal agenda and really not caring what happens to the rest of the planet. Anyway, listen, Terry, got to let you go. We got to take a break for station identification. Back with another phone call after these few words.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're going to go back to the phones to Tom in Florida. Aloha, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good day, Michael. Yeah, Michael, I just want to talk about what happened going on in Chicago. They had, over the weekend, they had 52 shootings, 10 dead. You didn't hear about this for almost 8 to 10 weeks because of Jesse Smollett, and they kept it quiet. And all of a sudden, that's dying down a little bit with the Smollett, which I still want to know what's going on with the mail and the letter to himself. There's been 52 shootings over the last week, and my nephew told me. 10 murdered, and that's just part of the equation of Chicago. I mean, a really
Well,
wild
thank goodness
statistic I
they have
saw
strict
today,
gun
Michael.
control there.
Yeah, and they got a new mayor. She wants to fire Eddie Johnson, the police chief. The mayor wants to get rid of him. Another thing, Michael, I saw in One American News today. I
Yep.
don't know if you are familiar with that network.
Yes.
Is Latin America since 2001, 9/11, since that time till now, there's been 2.5 million murders in all the way from South America all the way to Central America to Mexico. $2.5 million. I don't know if I saw that right, but I believe that's the number I saw. It was 2.5 million. That's what they look like. If it was 2.5 million.
Yeah.
There were every hour on the hour they showed the numbers of illegals, how much it cost. And the one thing that's really perplexing to me, Michael, is what's going on with this immigration is Donald Trump is now telling Mexico about the 5% tariffs. Why isn't Donald Trump saying 25% all money that's remitted to Latin America and Mexico is going to be taxed at 25%? Every dollar you send over, you're going to take a quarter out and keep it for the American public, because that money never does come back to the United States. That's what I think Donald Trump should be saying right now in the White House when he comes back from England with the merry old Queen and all those weirdos. I love what he said about the mayor of London. I thought that was pretty good.
Yep.
He's half the size of. I love what Trump said about that that con man. Yeah, Michael, Donald Trump needs to really go on into the White House, like they were saying today. He needs to go on there in the West Wing, get on, get all the news cameras on him, go on 9 o'clock, 9 p.m., come on TV, and tell the American public what's really going on with immigration and what he's going to do to fix it. I mean, he's really got to say we're going to try 25% on the money that remitted it back there, and we're going to give a 20% tariff if they don't stop this illegal invasion of our country. 5% is not going to do nothing. They're going to play like the Chinese are playing with Trump right now in a trade. So Trump really says, you know what? We're going to bring all the factories out of China and we'll bring them back to Central America or Haiti or somewhere. That's what you're going to get. I believe that's what's going to happen. And by the way, Michael, I know guys from Venezuela. You know what he told me? Everybody in Venezuela is trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
They can't get to Colombia. They're all trying to get to the United States, to Miami, South Florida, Broward, Dade. It's unbelievable. Y'all want to become Uber drivers.
Yeah.
They'll drive Uber or whatever they can. They'll do whatever they can to get a job to get out of Caracas or wherever. That's how bad it is. Now, you did hear today, Michael, that the Russians are pulling out of Venezuela. I don't know what that means, but that's another joke.
Well, basically, Maduro has not
there.
been able to make the payments for the weapons that Russia's been bringing in. So Russia's state-owned arms company, Rostec, is basically pulling the plug, saying, when you've got money to pay your bills, we'll be back.
Correct. That is correct. And one more thing, Michael, that the last caller you had, he's talking about Ebola and all that from Africa.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. If you look at what's going on at the border, and my wife was telling me this, there's so many Cubans trying to get out of Cuba to go into Mexico, to coming up to get out of there, to come. There's literally thousands of Cubans at the border trying to sneak in the United States.
Yes.
So they don't have wet foot, dry foot no more. There's no more wet foot, dry foot, so they'll do anything to get over here. And they'll do the whole loop. They'll go through Mexico, Texas, and come straight back down to South Florida. It's like a revolving door with this nonsense, with this illegal immigration.
Well,
and let me tell you, Michael, they'll get better federal government. They'll get federal government jobs before an American will. Do you know that?
Yep, probably. Probably.
They will. And yeah, it's true. But anyway, and Mike, one more thing. Jesse Smollett, I don't know what's going to happen with that case, but if this guy gets off after he mailed the letter, what's taking so long for the Postal Service to say that this guy mailed a letter? I don't understand what's taking so long on that. What does it take, 10 years for that to be exposed, or what?
Well, it all depends on the kind of letter it is. If it's regular first class, they really have no way to archive and track that. If it was sent priority mail, there's going to be a tracking record. But, there's still a lot of people out there who want to get Jesse Smollett off of this situation. They want him to go free.
Yes, absolutely. It's unbelievable. And Michael, I'll let you go. I know you got another caller. This guy, you know what? I haven't seen a picture of. The only show. Well, actually, I did see one picture on Drudge of the guy who did the shooting in Virginia Beach.
Yes.
Who was that guy?
He was apparently he worked for the government. He worked there 15 years, and all of a sudden that morning, he emails in his resignation, pulls the gun, and starts shooting people. And I want to know what medications this guy was on, because it just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. And I don't know if I heard that he resigned or they were resigning him. I thought I heard OAN said he was going to get a reassignment or something. They were going to, because he was messing up and he was going to be resigned to another position.
No, the report I saw was that his work performance was considered satisfactory, and that there were no blemishes on his record. He wasn't the greatest employee they had, but he wasn't the worst. Again, I want to put the focus back on these psychiatric medications.
I agree. Sounds too strange to me on that one. But okay, Michael, thank you for your time. And okay, all I can say is that we're being invaded, and until that stops, this country's going to fall. It's going to crumble within a very short time, I believe.
Okay.
This illegal immigration.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to let you go. We're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network, and we're going to go to Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hello, Mike. Mike, I was hearing about what's saying about the FBI, Martin Luther King. I've heard this before a few days ago. Don't people understand that we've got to get rid of the FBI? You're not going to reform it. You're not going to reform a bit. It came out of a bad seed with the cross-dressing degenerates that started it, okay? And it just keeps on getting, instead of getting better, it gets worse from year to year. It's run by criminals. All it cares is snooping on the American people. It's not I would not call these guys who work there peace officers. I would say these are basically the same mentality of the Stasi, Gestapo, and other KGB and other totalitarian type of so-called police. They have to be disbanded. Here's King to me is one of the greatest men this country's ever produced. I mean, he's right up there. I'd say probably among the top 10. Okay, and they're going to do everything now they can to smear this man, smear his, his memories. And I don't care about race. Race means nothing. I consider this man a great American. Period. Not a great Black American, but a great American. American who basically helped, in a way, helped sew up the Constitution. Okay, and now they're going to do this to him. Nobody, who in their right mind is going to believe J. Edgar Hoover? He hated the man. He hated Martin Luther King.
Yes.
On top of that, I believe also that he was behind the murder of Martin Luther King. I believe Hoover was behind the murder of JFK, RFK. This man was evil, and I call it FBI, the Federal Bureau of Evil.
Yes.
Are not good. They need to be replaced. They need to be disbanded and replaced with something else. I don't think we need such a strong federal investigative agency anyway. Probably should be some kind of cross-state investigation. Probably shouldn't even be armed. I mean, I believe the Second Amendment.
Originally, they weren't.
I know they weren't until Hoover was the one who convinced that that was the case. They are really they need to be disbanded. They need to have something, an unarmed investigative agency that doesn't have any kind of real, police powers, certainly not federal police powers. And that's I mean, how are you going to keep something like this? The same thing with the CIA. That's another one of these. These are bad agencies that never should have been created in the first place, and are doing nothing but hurting this country. They're not patriots. I would not work for the FBI today if I had to do it all over again. If I had a chance to, even if I had a chance to. It is not something, I don't even want to know anybody who works for the FBI, to be honest with you. I have no respect for these people. I think they're rotten to the core. I don't go along with the people, well, the rank and file are really paid. No, they're not. I don't think so. Rank and file must know what's going on. They must have some inkling what that agency is doing, about their supervisors, about the who runs what they call the seventh floor, their headquarters and all that. These guys are just plain no good. Trump should do something, but he won't, of course. He's basically he replaced one bad apple with another bad apple. Replaced Comey with this guy Ray. Neither are any good. He might have had some success with a guy like Dave Clark, Sheriff David Clark, who I think is a real patriot. But I think even for a guy like Clark, it would have been very difficult to reform something that I think really needs to be disbanded. I don't know. What do you think, Mike? Do you agree?
Well, I agree, but part of the problem is these bureaus we started out as very small, unarmed, and obviously subordinate to the executive branch. But then again, the ambitious people who are in charge of these bureaus, they grow their power. They get into little faction fights with the other intelligence agencies. We really don't need 17 intelligence agencies, but we're stuck with them right now, and they don't share information with each other. They're constantly in conflict with each other. When the FBI first started out, it was just a cross-border investigative body. They did not carry guns. Hoover changed that. Same thing with the BATF. When they were first formed, they were all about the paperwork, making sure that the paperwork for the alcohol and the explosives and everything was in order. Now they've been given guns and police authority. And, of course, that's what led to Waco.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It led to Waco. It's, the thing is, the ATF was so incompetent, they got their butts kicked on top of it when they raided, and then they wanted people to feel sorry for them on top of it. Sheriff said that if Suresh wanted to, he could have wiped the entire force of ATF agents that raided the place, which is, I think, over 100 agents. He could have wiped them out. He could have killed every one of them because they were in complete retreat. They were actually, I seen the documentary on it too, rules of engagement, and they were running. They threw down, a lot of them threw down their weapons, and they were actually crying.
Yes.
That's how bad it was. I mean, they're punks. They're bullies. They dress like they're soldiers. They dress up in military uniforms. In reality, those are costumes. They're no good. They should be disbanded. The ATF too, along with the FBI. They don't have any business with firearms. Firearms is a Second Amendment right. It's not a privilege, and you don't need these clowns supervising that either. They need to get rid of them all, Mike. They got to get rid of these especially these federal law enforcement agencies. They're not any good. They don't care about people's rights. They you saw the attitude of Peter Strzok or Strove, whatever it
Yep.
is. I don't think this is untypical of these clowns. They're overpaid on top of it. They're they have way too much power. They need to be gotten rid of. They really do. They need to get the heave-ho. It's not an agency that we need. It really is. They really don't solve any crime. And most of the terrorists they supposedly have caught, they set them up. They take a retard basically, or somebody, a drug addict, convince them to do some kind of an act, give them fake weapons, and who knows how many they actually gave real weapons to, and then make like at the last minute they solved the crime. They stopped the terrorist act from happening. Even, by the way, I don't know, the first World Trade Center, what happened there. They got used an Egyptian, he used to be a colonel in the Egyptian army.
Yes.
But he this country. He came to this country and he wanted to really do it. And they tried to set this guy up by giving him he was supposed to have, explosives that were not, that were dud. Instead, they gave him live explosives. He called him and told him, "Hey, you give me live. What are you doing? What's this?" So they said, "Well, go ahead and do it anyway." Now, fortunately, this guy was smart enough, being that he was a clone. He wasn't some criminal off the street or some retard or some drug addict. He actually was a colonel in the Egyptian army. He was smart enough to record the conversation.
Yes.
With the FBI, and that saved him. Otherwise, they would have probably either been dead or they would have buried him in some high security prison, some supermax prison somewhere, like maybe in Florence, Colorado. But he was smart enough at least to have, taped them. And Salim, I think that was his last name, Salim. There's a book about him too, and he had actually been when InfoWars was really InfoWars. He was on that show a couple of times. The guy was a real patriot. He loved this country. He loved coming to this country. He loved everything America stood for. And he wanted to help. He didn't want to commit a terrorist act. He wanted to catch real terrorists that he knew from his own country that had come to this country. And instead, the FBI wanted explosives to go off. They wanted a false flag. Now, again, nothing was ever made of this. Everything's, buried under, thrown under the rug. And people are so ignorant in this country. It's amazing. They don't know these things. Even when they find out, they still ignore it. I don't know what else to tell you, Mike. You know what I mean? I'm very fed up. I really am. I'm trying to do other things, but to get involved, be involved in politics. I mean, I got a lot of other hobbies and things I like to do. I love to work out, gym. I love to hike. I like nature and all that. I love playing with my dogs, and I love to visit my kids and my grandkids. Okay, so I'm trying to do that as much as I can, but it's hard because you do know about these things, and and it's frustrating not to know. And talk to most people, they're clueless. They have no clue that these things are going on.
Okay, I finally tracked down the article. The informant was named Ahmad Salem, and apparently Salem was in the habit of taping instructions from his handlers. And the New York Times actually reported on this. That the FBI had an opportunity to stop that bomb from going off and didn't do it. Of course, it never went anywhere from there.
There's no book. I forgot who wrote the book, but he also was on a number of shows. I think John B. Wells had him on. Alex Jones, again, with InfoWars had him on. And he was on a bunch of other shows. I mean, this is proof positive what the FBI is about. So they were willing to have, and people were killed at that first World Trade bombing. And it could have actually been worse. It could have really knocked down a building.
If they had parked that van right next to a load-bearing member of the Corps, yes, they would have brought that building down.
Yeah. The FBI is evil. That's all I can say. It is not anything people don't want to believe in false flags and stuff. I believe just about everything is a false flag.
Go back and reread the history of COINTELPRO in the 1960s, where the FBI was sabotaging the anti-war movement. They were sabotaging the civil rights movement. They were sabotaging the early feminists. They staged that day the hippies took over Disneyland to generate bad public relations for the anti-war movement. That's what they do. Anyway, listen, Mark, thanks an awful lot for the call. We got to let you go for a commercial break. We got another caller waiting on the line, and we'll be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And once again, Republic Broadcasting is asking you to step up and help support independent media. And it is very important that you do so, because just imagine what happens if we are no longer here. Now, last week we actually had a brief service outage because we're struggling to pay the bills. I think that illustrates just how serious this really all is. So whatever you can do, there's no such thing as too small a donation. The postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation or pledge to be a recurring subscriber is 800-724-2719, extension 1 during business hours, extension 3 at all other times. The network thanks you. Okay, we're going to get on back to the phones here to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, Mike, I'm going to respond to that Washington Post article about Rostec not being paid. I take it, maybe they weren't, maybe they were, but it's from the Washington Post. I take it with, like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, Venezuela's got gold. They could have just gave them some gold. So I don't know. I mean, I know they fulfilled the contract to train Venezuelan troops.
Oh, okay.
So they,
maybe that would have been the thing to do, is just give Russia the actual gold, because right now, because of U.S. sanctions, Venezuela is finding it very difficult to sell their gold reserves for cash. So, yeah, maybe that might have been the thing to do, is give them the gold equivalent. We know that Russia's buying gold.
But you think this Washington Post article is partly true, but because we know the Washington Post is the Washington Compost, so you can't take any of these New York Times now. Washington Post, New York Times used to be something back in the day, right? Like, this was like a long time ago, but now they're just propaganda tools because, you know, Jeff Bezos of Amazon owns Washington. There's all political interest involved in all these.
All liberal.
Newspaper. Yeah, but not only that, Mike, Fox News has an interest in pushing their agenda, except for, you know, I like Tucker Carlson. I don't agree with him on 100% because, you know, he called Vladimir Putin, like I get aggravated when he says, you know, I wouldn't want to live in Russia. Well, he must not watch any YouTube video because people, like, go shopping in Russia, they eat in Russia, they shop in China, they eat in China. Like, we live here. We always demonize people like everybody's locked up in their room in these countries. You ever realize that? Like,
yes.
People go to people. If you ever look in Venezuela, they're driving to work every day. They drive to work. They love their kids in Russia, China, Venezuela, North Korea. Like that North Korea article. Oh, we've been hearing that thing. Remember Kim Jong-il? He shot. He blew his cousin, brother's, uncle's third sister away with a .50 caliber. It's all propaganda coming from like either tabloids.
Well, look at that last one they tried. You know, where one of the negotiators from the Trump summit had been executed, and now he turns up again today.
It's crap. I mean, you can't take anything you hear with you know, unless you really know and you're there. You know, because we're not. Okay, we're not. We live here, and we're indoctrinated to believe what we're told by the media and our government here.
We're the most lied to people on the face of the earth. We're more lied to than the former citizens of the Soviet Union.
Isn't it great to live in a democracy?
I don't know. I haven't had a chance to live in one yet.
And Mike, with Trump, what do you make? First of all, this whole Mexico thing is just like basically not to make money. It's like to do as we say or because you know the Mexican tariffs, they're not going into some fund that pays for the wall. It's going to Washington D.C.
Yes.
Isn't it going to the Federal Reserve? Like basically, like the money. Like
yeah, it's another form of taxation.
Yeah,
ultimately, we're paying the tariffs, the increased prices on the Mexican goods, just like we're paying increased prices on Chinese goods. And
Yeah, I mean, it's all BS, Mike. I just don't know what to think anymore. Like all these like Trump just put tariffs on India. Like why? Like you don't like Indian food now? You don't want to put Trump? I mean, why? Like we need to lift, Mike. All the
ever hear of the law of the hammer?
Yeah, I heard the law of the hammer.
Yeah, if you give a small child a hammer, everything they encounter needs pounding. Well, somebody gave Donald Trump the power of the tariff.
But didn't somebody just leave Trump's cabinet today on economic advisor, I believe? One of the Wilbur Ross, was that
Yeah.
it? Somebody just left today because there's more. Can you hold me over?
Yeah, I'm going to hold you over.
Okay.
We'll be right back after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're finishing up here with Dustin in New Jersey. And Dustin, the gentleman who left the White House staff today is Kevin Hassett. And apparently he was a defender of Trump's tax cuts. He's leaving his role as chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. and not really saying the reasons for it, but he's definitely stepping down. Okay, so anything else, Dustin?
Yeah, and Mike, and those tax cuts didn't do squat for the average person.
No, they did
That
not.
just helped. Yeah, that helped the stock market. The companies buy their own stock back. So, Mike, we're in the worst. We're still. You talked about the manufacturer index being lower, so nothing's changed. Things are getting worse.
Yes.
Nothing's getting better, Mike. That's
Nope.
what I'm saying. And I don't think it's ever going to be getting better. And let me finish by saying Trump should just get rid of all the tariffs from everybody and all the sanctions and everything, because free trade's the only way. The rest of the world is going to walk away from us. It's coming. Okay? If you keep putting sanctions on people and bullying people, they're not going to do business with you anymore. You don't do business with a bully, you're just going to go to somebody else. So that's the way I look at it, Mike. Have a good show.
All right, thanks an awful lot, and we're going to switch over to Stuart in Florida. Stuart, thank you for waiting so patiently. What's on your mind? Stuart, are you there?
It's not Stuart, it's Al.
Okay, let's go to Nathan in
Al,
California. Aloha, Nathan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hello, Mike. Can you hear me now?
I hear you now.
Yay. Okay, great. Last time I called in, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I had a bad connection because we have had a lot of rain here in Northern California. It sounded like I was calling from Siberia in the middle of a snowstorm. Anyway, just something real quick here on Martin Luther King. But before that, I was talking about Layla, and she had made a statement that we need to overthrow Donald Trump, and she didn't know when she said that, and you didn't know when she said it, and that was on May 3rd on the Gibson channel at 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 30 seconds. He said, we've got to overthrow Donald Trump. And I just repeated her exact words. That was it.
Okay.
And she implied that, oh, well, I meant we need to reelect somebody else. Well, who are you going to reelect? You know, creepy, sleepy.
Yeah, overthrow's a little bit stronger.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought I'd clarify that. Layla's negativity is really, really tough to take, and I'll just leave it at that. I refuse to listen to her anymore. What I wanted to mention about Martin Luther King, kind of a personal story. Years ago, back in the 80s, I used to live down in Southern California. And on this one particular day, I had been running around San Diego County like a madman, and I was kind of tired. It was the end of the day, and I thought I'd go have a beer at a place that's near the La Costa Hotel. And the place was called the Crazy Burro, and you had to pay about an extra $1 for a beer, but, you know, it was a very nice place, and you got to look at some pretty girls and the TV, and, you know, very nice atmosphere. So I'm sitting at the bar, I'm sipping on a beer, and this guy strikes up a conversation next to me. And he starts talking about, you know, the days of Martin Luther King and Jesse Jackson. And he says, you know, I was in a room with Jesse Jackson one time, and he was saying some terrible things about Jackson. He said, you know, Jackson said to me, watch this. And he picks up the phone, and he gets on the phone with this person, and he's humiliating him, and he's dishing out orders and all these disparaging remarks and ordering him around, blah, 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 blah. And then he said to me, before I left, he said, believe me, the civil rights movement was nothing about what you think it was. It was a lot of other things. It was nothing what you think it was. And then months later, I got to thinking about that conversation, and I thought to myself, you know, I'll bet you that guy was one of those people who might have been listening to the conversations in, you know, the motels and hotels where Martin Luther King was staying as he traveled around. He did not look like the type of guy that would be in the same room with Jesse Jackson. So I think he was one of the guys that was bugging the rooms.
Well, it happens.
But he said the civil rights movement is nothing what you think it was. It was absolutely nothing what you think it was about. And that's why when the material comes out about Martin Luther King not being what he, presented himself to be because of other certain things, fooling around with prostitutes, et cetera, I tend to believe that that's true. A lot of politicians are, one thing to the public and another thing in private. Hillary Clinton's a good example of that. And the last thing I'll say, and I'll get going, I wanted to mention something about Bill Barr, our Attorney General.
Yes.
I'm a big Trump fan, but I know he's making mistakes. He's ex-Iran Contra, and he said, "Well, how do you know that? How do you know that?" Well, what you have to do is go to YouTube and you YouTube search Chip Tatum, Ted Gunderson interview. And one of the first videos that comes up, go to 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 45 seconds and watch this little bit of information that Chip Tatum talks about as far as Bill Barr is concerned. He was up to his eyeballs in accessory to murder, racketeering, drug smuggling. This guy should be serving life in prison, and here he is, our Attorney General. And everybody's saying, oh, he's a fine, outstanding, whatever. Give me a break. He's not going to do what we think he's going to do. And I think what we're about to possibly see, and it's just a guess, this is going to be one of the biggest hoodwinks of the American people since the founding of our country. They're going to maybe get a few little small fry, but they're not going to get the big people.
No.
It's pretty sad. But he is ex-Iran Contra. He's a criminal and definitely should be serving life in prison. And here he is, our Attorney General. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So anyway, that's all I have, Michael. And all I can say, the last thing to say is the negativity from Layla and Dustin and Peter and a number of other people against Trump is really, really hard to take. And I would suggest that Donald Trump has accomplished more in 1 year of his life than they've accomplished in their entire lifetimes. This is an extraordinary person who's led an extraordinary life. And I really get a kick out of watching Donald Trump from a perspective of the Norman Vincent Peale thing. He grew up under Norman Vincent Peale, the power of positive thinking. And I'm always looking at Trump from, how is he doing in that particular area? And I think he's doing just outstanding, with all the negativity coming from all different sides. I think he's holding up very well. If I were in the White House undergoing the things that Trump has gone through, they would be bringing me out on a stretcher in about 6 months. I couldn't handle it. So he's done very well. And I heard his son Eric 2 years ago say he's as tough as nails on Fox, and he wasn't kidding. Donald Trump's pretty tough to be able to take all this negativity and survive with a reasonably good positive attitude. So I'm very proud of our president that he's been able to take all these hits and keep his sanity, because I know I couldn't.
Well, obviously, we disagree a little bit on that subject, but I'm going to let you go here. The phone lines are loading up here, and we're going to go to Yada in California. Thank you for waiting patiently. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, can you hear me?
You sound a little bit muffled, but let's go for it.
Okay, I don't know. Let me check. You hear me now?
Oh, yeah, much better.
Okay, yeah, I took them earphones out. So, yeah, I just want to say that my name is Ayala Ravan Mustafa. I'm a journalist. I'm a writer and investigative journalist. And I want to say to all the listeners first, please support our RBN, y'all. Please support RBN, because this is one of the last bastions of truth in this country. What Mike is doing is very good work. So please support RBN, y'all. Any little bit and anything you can give, it helps. Please. I know as a journalist it helps, because the suppression and the censorship is getting out of control. We are really living in an animal farm. And I'm trying to tell y'all, it's getting crucial. But yeah, I did want to make a remark. That last guy, Mike, he was a hell of a Trump cheerleader.
Yes.
I don't know if he's watching the same thing me and you are watching. But besides that, I wanted to make a comment about Martin Luther King, and then secondly, go back to the FBI topic that you was on. The first thing, as far as Martin Luther King, I've done a lot of research and investigating, his life and his history, and a lot of the things that the bureaus were saying that he was doing. And a lot of that came. You can chalk a lot of it up to character assassination. You understand what I'm saying? When you're trying to discredit a person who has the attention of millions of people, that's a normal tactic. So I'm not saying he was perfect, but a lot of that was character assassination. And the other thing is, as far as his death, I don't know if you came across this information, Mike, but very recently I came across information that it appeared to be very credible, and it said that it alluded to the fact that Martin Luther King may have survived the gunshot and was actually killed by the doctor in the hospital. Reports are coming out now that one of the nurses or something saw, the doctor put the pillow over his face, that he died from asphyxiation. He actually survived the gunshot. Now, I'm not finished researching that, but a lot of people in my circle have been doing their own independent research and came across the same thing. So that's just something maybe you can look up and see where we can get to the bottom of that as well. But I call, I listen every day, but I don't call every day because I try to let everybody else get a voice because I try to do what I do in my platforms and such. But the irony. The reason I called today is because of the irony where he was talking about the whole FBI thing. Now, I can assure you that these federal agencies like the FBI and the ATF and everything that you were saying about them, Mike, is absolutely correct. These were not enforcement agencies in the beginning. They were more administrative. But this has gotten way out of control in this country. This has gotten way out of control. And I think now it's time for these agencies and these departments and these federal institutions. It's basically Washington, D.C. needs to be declawed and defanged. Because
agreed.
It's too much. It's getting to be way too much. And if you remember, Mike, I called you back in April, and when I told you about how I found my daughter had been missing. She had been kidnapped, and then I had went and found her homeless and pregnant and brought her home, and then the FBI come and raided my house and took my child and returned her. I don't know where she's at. I don't know if they returned her to the homelessness or to the people who kidnapped her or whatever, but here's the thing, right? Just like you said, this FBI is completely corrupt to the core. Now, I'll file all of the complaints with the Department of Justice. I've been trying to go to the special agents in charge of the Philadelphia branch and, the branches in my location and everything. These agents, despite me telling them what really is going on and showing them the proof, they've been refusing to put me in touch with their special agents in charge. The DOJ has been playing soccer with me. They've been passing the buck around and everything.
Yeah.
I just got a letter back from the DOJ today talking about the whole thing, and they basically referred me to the FBI to ask the FBI to investigate themselves because I told them that the Philadelphia agent, whose name is Ben Paris, Ben as in Benjamin, last name is in Paris, like the city, that this guy sent a combat team to my house where they put machine guns in me and my other two teenage daughters' face and kidnapped my oldest child. And I told him, I said, I don't know what he was told, but I showed y'all everything. I have her birth certificate, the Social Security card, ID, all her clothes, and everything is here. So I don't know what could possibly be in this man's mind, but ever since I've talked to this man, Agent Ben Paris, Mike, and I showed him all of that, he just became completely belligerent to me, basically telling me, screw you, what you going to do about it? And then telling me, if you go find her again and you bring her home again, we're going to arrest you. This is what they're telling me, Mike, in America. And
yeah.
It really breaks
I
my
think
heart.
you've called in with this story before.
Yeah, I'm not calling about the story. I talked to you back in April, but what I'm calling is because how y'all brought up the topic of the FBI, and it's just crazy because they pretty much telling me, screw you, what you going to do about it? And they're not giving me no legal basis or anything for what they did, and it's crazy. It just breaks my heart, Mike, because when that war kicked off in Iraq and in Afghanistan, I volunteered both times. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I volunteered both times. And so, and then on top of that, I'm black. So when I know the history of the FBI and how they've been behaving, not just to black people, but to everybody. The FBI is completely corrupt from top to bottom. But the thing is, they have never relented on their counterintelligence program, and now it's just de facto instead of being official. They're de facto war against the black community. These people have really gone crazy. And now, so my question now, Mike, is what do we do when we're living in George Orwell's Animal Farm like this? When we're living in 1984, where these people are behaving just like Gestapo? Because I'm all over Twitter. I'm all over the Twitterverse, and I'm showing these people the documentation. So I'm getting in touch with the federal prosecutors in the state of Pennsylvania and the city of Philadelphia, and I'm telling them, this agent just basically came and kidnapped my child. What are y'all going to do about it? Because if my daughter, when I find my child, she was homeless when I found her and pregnant. So I'll find my child, I'll bring her home, and these people come back to my house with M4s. I'm going to introduce them to the Second Amendment. So I'm really trying to avert disaster. What do we do in situations like this, Mike? Because it's to the point now where I'm looking at what our government as a whole is doing all over the world. Look at what they're doing in Venezuela and the things that they're doing.
Okay. I have to step in here because we're almost out of time here. And first and foremost, yeah, going public and making a ruckus is a good way to start. The other thing we have to figure out is how and why you got on somebody's crosshairs. Because it seems to me like this is personal for somebody, that it's vindictive. Is one of these agents on this group, are they having a relationship with your former wife?
No.
Because it does seem like there's a lot more venom going on here than is normal, even for the FBI. So, I mean, I've had a few brushes with the FBI myself, and they weren't pleasant, but it certainly wasn't to this degree of shall we say, vengeance and victimization.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you hit it right on the nose. He's not necessarily messing around with my wife, but I'm working on a book, and I'm not trying to plug right here, but it's just relevant, right? The book that I'm working on is called As Testament to Justified Rage, and that's because I'm putting together a chronology of my life for the last 25 years of constantly all of these things that, and I'm providing proof of everything with it. The law enforcement and judicial community in various parts of the country have been committing outright crimes against me, just like this agent in Paris. This man is supposed to be in jail right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry. I've got to cut you off. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back with another phone call.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, healthcare has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We've got one caller left on the lines. That's Al in Canada. Al, thank you for waiting so patiently. What's on your mind today?
Mike, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to tone things down a little bit here. We live in a really crazy country, eh?
Yes.
I mean, it's just like right out there. And that may not be a bad thing, right? Because at least, you know, the people in your country are still talking about things, right?
Well, I don't know how much is talking versus just screaming at each other.
Yeah, well, there's always that. That seems to be happening more and more. I had originally called about tariffs and debt because they're so intertwined. You know, you probably already know. I mean, debt it's a joke, but tariffs. What exactly happened in like 1969, 1970, 71 in your country, Mike? Because everything seemed to go bad. Like it's almost like the bankers really took over.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that really started to happen back actually in 1963, but we didn't feel the effects until 1969. One of the first things they did after Kennedy was gone, of course, is they took the real silver and valuable metals out of our coinage and gave us these copper slugs that we have today. And from that point on, our money floated free of any value, and it's been inflating since then.
Yep. And a lot of other things happened too, like, for instance, healthcare became for profit.
Yes, that happened under Nixon.
Yes, yes. Like a lot of really bizarre things happened, like you said, with John F. Kennedy's assassination of '63. But really, I mean, what about in 1933? What happened?
Well, I think that was the year that they tried that coup d'etat against Franklin Roosevelt.
Yep, yep. You know, you get a really rich history. I wonder how many kids even, know it. But apparently, your country is just rife with fight.
Yes.
You're always fighting. You know, Mike, it's kind of funny when you think about it, because the United States of America is still one of the freest countries on the face of this planet. So, you know, it could be better, right? I hope it gets better.
It could be a lot better. It could also be a lot worse. I don't know how free we are. I know there's an international ranking of freest states in the world, and I know the United States has been in decline the last several years. I mean, they're trying to suppress our freedom of speech by calling it hate speech or anti-Semitism. They're certainly on the war path against our Second Amendment rights. The Fourth Amendment is totally gone. It is absolutely gone. We have no more privacy anywhere, either from government or corporate interests.
Well, it's the same thing up here in Canada, Mike. Exactly what you just described.
Okay, Al, stay on the line. I've got to take a break for station identification. I'm going to come right back to you after these few words.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're still talking with Al in Canada, and we're talking about just how much of our freedoms and privacy that we've lost in the United States and how much we're being surveilled and controlled. And now they're talking about they're going to bring facial recognition into the schools to just get the kiddies used to being scoped and scanned, 24/7. It's just brainwashing them to accept this dystopian future that is being built around us right now.
Right out of the animal farm.
Yep.
I won't go to Walmart. Well, I won't go to Walmart for other reasons, but I know for a fact that as soon as you walk up to a cash register, like there's a camera in your face. What are you doing? So, I mean, I can see a lot of reasons why they would want to do that, but I can see a lot of reasons why I wouldn't want them to. Because number one, it's creepy.
Yes.
Hey, Mike. Have you ever seen those where you walk up? You can actually see you coming. If you're looking hard enough. But eventually, like you're just staring at yourself. There's a camera with a screen.
Yeah.
Right in front of your head. Like, why? Why would anybody want to do that?
I imagine to deter a holdup would be one good reason.
Well, that would probably be the only reason that I could understand.
Yeah, to let you know you're being watched and recorded, so don't try and anything funny.
Oh yeah, the funny stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah, the funny stuff. Yeah. I'm laughing because I actually kind of find that humorous. It's one of those cliche.
Yes.
Don't try any funny stuff. Don't try any funny. And of course, they got their hand in their coat pocket, with their finger pointing out like there's a real gun or something. But a lot of times there is a real gun.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And you can't stop the criminals from being criminals.
Well, I think you can. I think criminals, if there's an alternative way to make a living, they're going to go that way and not have to deal with that constant stress of, are the cops going to find me? I think right now the reason crime is going up here is not because somebody got up one morning and said, I think I'm going to go out and be a criminal because it looks cool on TV. I think a lot of people are being forced into lives of crime because there just isn't any other way for them to earn a living.
Well, there it is, Mike. No jobs.
Yep.
So how do you compete with a country whose basically their wages, let's just call it that. There's a lot of other things, but, is not even a quarter of what you make. And it has the same, the same PP, same, what do they call that, price parity equivalency thing.
Well, you also have to take into account what the actual cost of living is for these workers. They may be making a lot less in terms of numbers than their U.S. counterparts, but they may also be paying a lot less for things like rent and food and water. And that would sort of negate things, out. It basically puts it in a whole new context.
Yeah, it does. And see, this is why having tariffs is a good thing, because unless it's a level playing field and everyone is using the same currency and exchange and the laws are the same everywhere, labor laws and everything else, healthcare, all of that is a level playing field, then you cannot compete with some people. You just can't. It has nothing to do with intelligence or ingenuity or anything like that. It's just, you just can't, because these people, they're not, their standard of living is lower and their living conditions are worse.
That sounds a little sweeping for me. Anyway, Al, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to let you go, and we're going to switch over to Kevin in Washington. Aloha, Kevin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I called in. I wanted to talk to you about the Orville Dam, but if I can, I just wanted to make a quick comment on Trump. A couple of things on Trump. Trump should be given a statue and a medal for ending the Bush-Clinton dynasty in this country, if nothing else. Okay, I mean, at least he put a stop to that. The second thing is, people have to remember something about Trump. He started to make his real money back when we had the only unelected president of the United States and the unelected vice president of the United States, which was Gerald Ford
yes.
and Nelson Rockefeller. And when Rockefeller was able to be the president of the Senate, they pushed through a bill. New York City at the time had gone bankrupt, and they pushed through a bailout bill for New York City, which then allowed Trump to do eminent domain and take over a bunch of derelict places in New York. So that's where he got his money. And ironically, it was around the same time there that we bailed out Mexico, had gone bankrupt. The whole country had gone bankrupt, and we bailed that out. And that was under our country's only two non-elected president and non-elected vice president by the people in a general vote. But the reason I called in was the Orville Dam in Oregon is up to capacity. And actually, they were saying a good windstorm, I think it's at 901 feet of fill right now.
Uh-huh.
That windstorm will actually put waves over the top of it. And the snowpack in some of the tributaries are as high as 140% of normal snowpack that has not melted off yet. And engineers have discovered several wormholes where they're seeing greening of grass on the slope, on the downstream facing slope. And there is a engineering, they call it like a reverse bell curve, where that's the largest, tallest earth-filled dam in the country.
Yes.
And that it's allowed to seep up to 30% from the base up, and it's just the hydrology of it going through. But they're now seeing wetting higher up than the 30%. So whoever's running the Orville Dam is really playing Russian roulette. They should be drawing down that water. They're having problems with the gates are leaking. There's cracks in the foundations for the gates. That's why they're leaking, and that's where they're thinking some of the wormhole is happening. And it's almost as if they raised the water level to hide where, and I don't think they did this on purpose, but I mean, it's almost as if that's what's happened. They're hiding where you could see where there was, what do you call it, ground sloughing, or the collapse on the inside of the thing.
And how long ago was it that they did this multi-billion-dollar repair on the dam?
$3 billion, Mike, they threw at it. They threw everything in the kitchen sink. And, of course, I think Hewitt, a construction company, got to pop a couple of bottles of champagne on that. But, I mean, they threw everything in the kitchen sink at it. But at the same time, they just put an expensive Band-Aid over it. They never really addressed any of the problems to it. So I think that's going to be a sleeper issue this year later, that could rear its head.
Well, I know that Hewitt used to have a good reputation, but it has suffered of late. It certainly suffered here in Hawaii with our light rail project, which is billions over budget, years behind schedule. Hewitt is fighting an audit tooth and nail. We understand that Hewitt was also behind the California high-speed rail system, which is turning into being an engineering and financial disaster. And if they botched up that Oroville Dam.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's for them to have it up. I think it's worth your listeners to just give themselves a half an hour one of these nights this week and go online and just look at some of the different things that are happening on that Oroville Dam. And I just really think it's a disaster waiting to happen. It's just that it's in really bad shape, and they're not talking about it. And it's going to be one of those things that we talk about government being corrupt, but sometimes government isn't corrupt; it's just inept. And,
yes.
Sometimes when you have somebody that gets a paycheck twice a month, no matter what they do, there's really no incentive there. There is no incentive. We've taken all the incentive out of the equation. But I really think that the people there need to be put on notice, both living below the dam to pay attention to what's going on, but also the people running that water district there should be put on notice that if they know, this is going to be that classic, what did you know and when did you know it type
Yes.
thing. It's going to be bad, Mike.
Yes, it is. It really is, and all we can do is keep an eye on it. And I know that I've gotten quite a few emails from people up there with photos showing small leakage, slow leakage. But again, we don't know how badly the fill of the dam was compromised when it originally, overflowed.
Mike, that was built with junky fill to start out with. That was built with all the tailings of a couple of old gold mines and silver mines that was just a few miles away. And so it never was a premium product that was put into it. It was just a close available product. And even at the time when they built it, I think it got built under what's-her-face's dad. Pelosi's dad was involved in that. And also, I think the governor, when it got, Jerry Brown's dad, I think, was the governor at the time, too. So it's kind of ironic that Jerry Brown and Nancy Pelosi's parents were involved in that thing. And I think Reagan might have been the governor for the final cutting of the ribbon or something like that. But anyway, it was made out of junky material when they first started it. So,
yeah, apparently it was opened in 1968 and used to create Lake Oroville.
Yeah.
But, I can understand why people would be concerned. Anyway, listen, Al, I'm sorry, Kevin, we're going to let you go. The phone lines are empty now. So, Steve, if you want to call back in, now's the time to do it. We're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. Now, this story, people, we have got to develop some restraint. And I know people who their entire life is being a star on YouTube, and what do I do today to get people to look at my videos? So apparently there's this YouTube star over in Spain who pranked a homeless man by taking apart an Oreo cookie, taking out the white cream filling, and replacing it with toothpaste and putting it on the video. Ha ha ha. Now, fortunately, toothpaste is not poisonous or toxic, so no real harm done. However, a Barcelona judge has ordered that Kangahua Ren's YouTube and other social media accounts be shut down for 5 years. He's sentenced to 15 months in prison. That's probably going to be waived. And he now owes $22,300 to his victim. And the 20-year-old Ren, who goes by Reset on the video sharing website, was born in China but has lived in Barcelona for most of his life. I mean, you look at somebody who's homeless, and you're looking at somebody who's already been through a great deal of suffering, and a lot of them can become violent when triggered, so there's a risk factor. I mean, I'm glad they threw the book at this guy. Story out of the Daily Mail over in Great Britain. This is coming out from down in Australia. And apparently these Catholic schools in Brisbane are basically declaring now that God is gender neutral, and students are banned from using the words Lord, Father, and Son in prayers. The schools include All Hallows, Stuart Home, Loreto College, and Stuart Home School, and they're leading a push towards a feminist interpretation of the Christian Bible. And apparently students at Stuart Home School, which costs $40,000 a year, are taught to use the word God-self instead of himself. Going to have a lot of very confused people here. What are they going to do? Get up on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, paint over God's little peepee? I wouldn't be surprised that actually happened once in the Vatican, where there were all these statues of nude males, and there was one of the popes, and I forget which one it was, and they called it the Great Circumcision. He just walked down the gallery with a hammer, knocking the little penises off. And then somebody later on put the fig leaves back over to cover the holes. Alrighty, Gillette is once again in the controversy, where they have come out with a new commercial featuring a dad teaching a transgender son to shave. And it's basically artist and activist Samson Bonkia Bantu Brown being taught to shave by his father. It's being lauded for being inclusive to the LGBTQ community. But conservative commentator Tommy Lauren has criticized the campaign, saying it is a little too much to normalize and promote high school age kids undergoing hormone therapy and gender reassignment. A spokeswoman for Gillette declined to share Bonkia Bantu Brown's exact age out of respect for his privacy, but confirmed that he is not, in fact, a teenager. Okay, we're going to grab another phone call. Joe in Tennessee, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I like what that caller said earlier about a 25% tax on remittances to Mexico. I'm very pleased with Trump's 5% on tariffs. And through life, I've learned a lesson. And that is when dealing with politicians or really anybody, when you have a problem, nobody cares. But when you make your problem their problem, then all of a sudden it'll get addressed. I mean, if you got to deal with state government, local issues, variances, any of that stuff, they don't want to help you. They could give a damn about you. But if you can effectively make your problem their problem, you'd be surprised how fast things get fixed for you. And I think that's by broadening this problem of illegal immigration and having it have an effect on the Mexicans might actually cause a little bit of movement. And not only is it affecting the Mexicans, it's affecting the Chamber of Commerce, Wall Street corporatist type Republicans. And maybe they'll say, hey, maybe that wall, maybe we should loosen up some funds. This is really having a bad effect on Wall Street. Now, personally, I've been thinking about the whole economic system, and really we need a reset anyway. Why not bring about the collapse now? And if tariffs do it, why not? I mean, let's do it while, like they said in the Mafia, The Godfather, the guy said, let's hit them now while we got the muscle. And I would rather have an economic collapse while Donald Trump is president than have an economic collapse while Bernie Sanders is president. And so, I mean, it's inevitable. There's, with the way we spend money and just the dynamics of money, that a hyperinflationary depression or some kind of collapse is on its way. And we might as well do it with a guy that's been through bankruptcies with corporations, and I think he's fond of gold, so maybe we'll go to honest money, a gold standard, and let's bring it on. And if it's brought about by tariffs, I think that would be a great way to have it happen, because once again, these people ignored the working man. They ignored the nationalists in this country. They've formed a kind of an alliance of just undesirable corporatists and leftists and Marxists and anti-white racists, Mexicans, and that just want to get.
Okay, Joe, gotta let you go. Got to take a break for commercials. We'll be back with more phone calls after these few words.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs. Memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting Truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And I stand corrected on that issue of the Oreo cookie. Apparently, if you swallow more than the amount of toothpaste you would use to brush your teeth, it can have toxic consequences. So that was a dumb thing for this kid to do. All right, so we're going to go to the phones here to Stuart in Florida. Aloha, Stuart. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I got thrown away before. Yeah, you know, I hear the frustration of everybody and what's going on, but, you know, I think it's time to realize that it doesn't matter who you elect. It's at least in Washington, what people seems to me have to do is focus on the local level and look for people who you know and trust and form networks, because the future will likely be either economic chaos or political repression. And, you know, you're not going to vote your way out of this, okay? So it's better to be prepared so that you can defend yourself and people around you, and don't have any illusions. And the politicians, they're mostly sociopaths. They're the worst elements, the dregs of society.
Yes.
The other point is on sanctions is, I agree with you. I don't think that these the way Trump sanctions is being done right. One, he's not finessing it, but I think a better solution is why not give tax incentives, economic incentives for people who open up shop in this country. This way, you don't have to raise prices, and we have a bloated a bloated military budget, which is at least 14 times more than what the Russians spend. So there's plenty of money there, you know, for that kind of a project. And the other thing is, you people who think Trump is such a great guy need to have your head examined. Pardon my French there. The man, first of all, he's lied on so many issues. From foreign intervention, he's useless on immigration. He doesn't defend his supporters, whether it's through censorship or the attacks that were going on physically against his own people. He caves at the slightest opposition, which we saw with the voting investigations that were supposed to go on.
Yep.
And let me just end with this: the man is a war criminal, okay, by international definition. He has attacked countries which haven't attacked us. He did it to Syria twice and lied about it. And what happened in Raqqa, Syria, is an absolute unbelievable. They leveled the whole city, indiscriminate bombing. That's a war crime. And of course, we could talk about his relationship with the baby killers over there in Israel. So with that, I'll sign off, and I'll listen to your response, your thoughts.
All right. Well, like you, I'm very much disappointed in Donald Trump. And Donald Trump and the rest of our military-industrial complex, they're technically guilty of war crimes for launching unprovoked wars on nations that have done nothing wrong to us other than to stand up and say, we don't want to do what you tell us to do. And that's why the U.S. has to make up things to convince you to go along with it. Saddam's nuclear weapons, Assad's sarin gas, and apparently they're getting ready to try that one again. And that's the only way they can get your support, is to lie you into it. So the question you have to ask yourself now is, are you going to go on continuing to be a naive, gullible fool and believe the corporate media and the government when they say that Kim Jong-un is torturing his diplomats after the Trump summit? Or do you want to say, look, I'm tired of being lied to. You guys are full of it, and I'm not listening to you any longer. We're mad as heck, and we're not going to take this anymore. Okay. Story coming on out from Russia Today. Apparently, there was yet another transgender runner claiming the U.S. women's college title. And natural-born female sport is in an absolute crisis. And, you know, if this continues, true-born female sports are going to fade away. So the suggestion is create a new category. Have a men's division in the sport and a women's division and a transgender division, and let them have at each other. On June 5th, that's this Wednesday, Sephora will close all 400 of its shops for a day of inclusion workshops after singer SZA was racially profiled trying to buy Rihanna's Fenty makeup in California. So somebody apparently got very, very upset at that. Apparently, getting a tan in a tanning bed is now considered racist. That's the latest from the PC world. We're going to take a break for more commercials. Back with more about this after a few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Ann, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And we're talking about this British fashion and makeup blogger, Chloe Wilson. And she's famous on Instagram for doing a lot of bikini shots. And she uses tanning beds to get a tan for those bikini shots. And apparently she has come under fire from black activists who are insisting that the use of tanning beds represents the new blackface. That having anything that is not lily white in your complexion represents an attempt, I guess, at cultural appropriation. We have got way too many people walking around this planet whose only sense of value is finding things to be offended by. Okay. Anyway, Facebook had their shareholder meeting, and as expected, Mark Zuckerberg held on to both of his jobs as chairman of the board and CEO. And investors might be a little bit worried because the number of would-be Facebooks is growing. And, of course, people are starting to move over to them over the privacy issues. And very clearly, the stockholders, the board of directors, have lost control of Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg has it effectively all. It's his baby. Another little article, this one coming out of Investment Watch blog, Big Tech is Big Brother. And yeah, that's certainly the way it's been. All of these giant social media corporations, they're doing the spying on behalf of the government. The legal interpretation of the Fourth Amendment is that it doesn't apply to private business entities. So they can do whatever they want here. Over at Huawei, they have purchased the intellectual property rights to facial recognition systems designed by a Russian developer and manufacturer of high security technology. And so apparently some employees of Moscow-based Vocord will also be transferred to Huawei as part of the $50 million agreement. So Huawei's Russian subsidiary, along with Hong Kong-based Huawei Digital Technologies, will reportedly become the owners of the intellectual property rights for Vocord's patents on Face ID technology and equipment, and the newly formed company will reportedly be called LGL Soft Lab. And the Russian unit of the enterprise is expected to own 99.99% of the newly formed company. Now, over the weekend, yesterday in fact, there was this major outage. It started at 3 p.m. Eastern Time yesterday, and Google Cloud went out, affecting Gmail, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook, and they went offline. Now, some people were kidding and saying it was just a test of the internet kill switch, but it sort of was a slap in the face to people who have all these smart devices in their home, because they all stopped working. Couldn't turn on the AC. Well, I mean, I suppose you can go on over and like turn the knob, but none of those cute little gadgets would work. The Justice Department, just before midnight last Friday, Wall Street Journal dropped a bombshell of a story. They're reporting that the Department of Justice has opened an antitrust investigation of Alphabet Incorporated, pardon me, which could present a major new layer of regulatory scrutiny for Google. And the report was sourced to people familiar with the matter, but was swiftly corroborated by the New York Times, Bloomberg, and others. For months now, the Federal Trade Commission has appeared to be gearing up for a showdown with big tech. The agency, which shares antitrust authority with the Department of Justice, has created a new commission that could help undo big tech tie-ups like Facebook's acquisition of Instagram, and hired lawyers who have advanced new anti-monopoly theories that could justify the breakup of companies like Amazon. And I certainly hope they do a better job of it than they did of the Bell Company, because they kind of messed that one up with all the baby bills. Amazon wants to start installing Alexa in apartments and hotel rooms before you move in. And so it's probably going to be a little bit of creepy, but Amazon wants to put millions of smart speakers in homes and hotels by offering discounted hardware, customized software, and new ways for property managers to harvest and use data. I'm not sure I'd want my landlady knowing what I'm saying. But apparently there are people willing to pay for this kind of an arrangement. And the Wall Street Journal, as they put it, Amazon's plan to move into your next apartment before you do. And for Amazon, the appeal is obvious, adding millions of new users to its services and gaining access to data like their voice-based wish lists and Alexa-powered shopping habits will put it further ahead of the competition, which at the moment doesn't have a significant presence in rental properties and new home construction. So that's the next intrusion. Your house will come already wired. Okay, we were talking before about somebody writing a sensational book just to make some money. And here is another example. German historian Marie-Sophie Hingst is famous for her blog telling about family members who perished in the Holocaust, and she has now been exposed as a fraud. And the revelation also puts the media, which published her other personal stories, in a bit of an embarrassing bind. Now, Hingst, who lives in Dublin, rose to prominence because her stories about her alleged Jewish ancestors who tragically died in the times of the Holocaust. They were published on her blog, Read On, My Dear, Read On. It's been taken offline, which she started back in 2013 in Dublin. The blog featured accounts of her grandfather in particular, who she said was killed in the Nazi death camp of Auschwitz. However, historians have discovered it's all a lie. Okay, her grandfather was never sent to Auschwitz, was not even a Jew. He was a Protestant pastor, and his wife was a dentist and also followed Protestantism. In fact, nobody could identify any of this Hingst's relatives who actually were victims of the Holocaust. It's another Holocaust hoax. Now, Hingst is out there saying, well, so it's not true, but just consider it literature. I don't think so. Okay. The creators of the Gand Crab ransomware announced yesterday they're shutting down their ransomware as a service operation. This is coming out of ZDNet. So the Gand Crab RAS is an online portal where crooks sign up and pay to get access to custom bills of the Gand Crab ransomware, which they later distribute via email spam, exploit kits, or other means. Now, when an infected user pays a ransom demand, the original Gand Crab author earns a small commission, while the rest of the money goes to the crook who distributed the ransomware. And here is their sign-off quote. It says, "We are leaving for a well-deserved retirement. We have proved that by doing evil things, retribution does not come." And that right there is a huge, huge problem with cybercrime. The people who are doing it rarely, if ever, get caught and punished. And it is a big, big problem. But at least this ransomware as a service, they're going to go away until somebody else comes up with the same thing. Okay, Johnson & Johnson's is basically gone into this opioid trial. And the state is saying Johnson & Johnson ran a deceitful multi-billion-dollar brainwashing campaign. Johnson & Johnson apparently rolled the dice by playing hardball and not settling like the other two drug makers named in the suit. Increasingly, it seems like Johnson & Johnson has taken a more aggressive stance on defending class action suit, but in doing so exposes itself to potentially big awards to plaintiffs. From what I'd gathered, Johnson & Johnson has been pretty successful in reducing or outright eliminating judgments related to cancer related to the talc powder. Okay. Apparently there are a whole bunch of companies that are using fetal cells from aborted babies to flavor products. And apparently, let's see, there was this pro-life organization wrote to the CEO of Sonomics, indicating that many ethical and moral choices that can and should be used to test their food additives. However, Sonomics and other companies listed on its website as partners decided to ignore the letter. The giants of the food industry, such as PepsiCo, Kraft Foods, Campbell's Soup, Solea, and Nestle, are the main targets of the boycott, although Sonomics account other international partners on their websites. So, I mean, they're using bits and pieces of aborted babies for flavoring. That's a little sick. I'm sorry, it is a little sick. I mean, anyway. Okay, after the news broke that the Democratic Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards would break with his party and sign his state's fetal heart bill into law, one feminist author went ballistic, don't they always, tweeting that he was an unrepentant misogynist and should be expelled from the Democratic Party. Well, everybody gets their opinion here. Netflix is now talking about joining the boycott against the Georgia film industry, but oddly enough, is already expanding production in countries that totally outlaw abortion. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy there. They're just hopping on board the Georgia bandwagon because they can get some free ink for it. Alabama State Senator Garland Gudger said that pro-abortion activists threatened to rape his wife over his support of the state's new abortion ban. In an interview on Alabama Public Television, Gudger revealed that activists have threatened his family. Gudger had been a vocal supporter of the state's new abortion ban, has said that abortion is murder and that unborn children deserve protections even in the most difficult of circumstances. And he said, it's been tough dealing with the balancing of my wife and my children being attacked. As I said, we've lost our ability to have a civil discussion. Now it's my way, or we're going to rape you, or we're going to beat you up with a stick, or we're going to torture your dog. Anyway. Lawyers for the man accused of killing 11 people at a Pittsburgh synagogue say the FBI has been discouraging witnesses from talking to the defense, undermining the suspect's right to a fair trial. Robert Bower's lawyers said in court documents that at least one witness got in touch with the defense, exchanging multiple emails over several weeks, but abruptly canceled a planned meeting after the FBI frowned on it. The defense said the FBI delivered the same message to other witnesses, and the FBI may have included some acknowledgement of the witness's right to talk to the defense, while at the same time ensuring no witness would actually exercise that right by conveying the misleading message that doing so could compromise the government's case. Well, absolutely. Remember after the Boston bombing and the FBI were interviewing that kid down in Florida and wound up dead? Story coming on out of Consortium News. The indictment of Julian Assange under the Espionage Act has profoundly affected press coverage of the WikiLeaks founder, with much of the media turning suddenly and decisively in his favor after years of vilifying him. And the change has also come from some politicians and significantly from 2 Justice Department prosecutors who went public to express their dissent about using the Espionage Act on Assange. There are a lot of lawyers who say it won't stand up. And they may be getting ready to back off anyway because the Justice Department has decided not to charge Julian Assange for his role in exposing some of the CIA's most secret spying tools, according to a U.S. official and 2 other people familiar with the case. This gets back to what was called Vault 7. And it was just basically an arsenal, if you will, one of the most devastating in CIA history, rendered those tools useless to the CIA because the enemy now knew what to look for, as well as giving foreign spies and rogue hackers access to them. But the decision is that Assange will not face punishment for publishing the arsenal. He still has to look at the espionage, the possibility of an espionage trail. Okay, UN Special Rapporteur on Torture, Nils Melzer, has said that on the 31st of May, he gave video interviews with both Sky News and the BBC on his findings that WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is the victim of psychological torture. As of this writing, footage of those interviews is nowhere to be found. Just hiding it here. Okay. Barack Obama has claimed U.S. gun laws don't make sense, and he even went out and said it's even possible to buy machine guns. No, actually it's very difficult to buy machine guns. You have to go through a background check, you have to have a special license, you have to pay a huge tax bill on the gun. It's not like just going on down to the sporting goods store and say, you know, give me a Thompson 45. But it basically underscores the fact that Barack Obama doesn't really understand the gun issue at all. He just wants to have more laws. Okay, we're coming up here on a commercial break. We've got one more caller waiting on the line that we're going to get to as soon as we come back from these words from our sponsor. And apparently, well, we're going to do the commercials. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, last segment of our program today. And we're going to go to the phones to Don in Iowa. Aloha, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. The guy was talking about the Iran-Contra, and he was trying to make a big deal about Bill Barr being part of that. Well, Iran-Contra was not great, but actually, if you look back on it, all they were trying to do was the president was trying to go around the congressional oversight of foreign policy. If you look at what's going on now, 20, 30 years, 40 years later, whatever it is, they've completely discarded congressional oversight on foreign policy. And now the president just does whatever he wants to from the get-go and just ignores Congress. So, I mean, it was bad, but nobody. I mean, some people did go to jail on that, but in general, just people that are calling in all the time and bad-mouthing Trump. Okay, Trump is a disappointment, of course. Even Ron Paul says he can't figure out. Nobody can figure out what Trump's doing. But before I mean, it's so easy to take pot shots on him. He's not here to defend himself. But who are you going to vote for? Would you rather vote for Joe Biden? The guy can barely read his teleprompter. He doesn't know what the hell. I think he's pretty close to being senile. Trump is about as good as you're ever going to get because he.
Well, that says something about our political landscape right there. That's the best that we can do.
Yeah, well, I think it is. I think it is probably the best. You never got to get the fact that Maxine Waters hates him and these little peons like Nadler really despise Trump. That alone says that he's doing something. He's okay. I mean, I like the guy is subjected to pressures that we just cannot imagine what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know really what they're probably threatening. He's had. We don't know what
you're reading you're off the same cards that other guy was reading here. And let me just say this. We've had presidents who really did the job right. I think John F. Kennedy was definitely one of them. Teddy Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Andrew Jackson. We need to find the next one of those and put them in the White House.
Yeah, well, I hope somebody like that comes up, but I can't see the Democrats putting up anybody like that next time. It's possible, but I think that probably Trump's going to get my vote next time. I'm not going to vote for Jill Stein or Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. Okay, I'll let you go, Mike. Thanks.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. Okay. We talked about this a little bit before, but the LGBT agenda has now completely destroyed women's sports as a biological male wins the NCAA women's track championship. Women's rights are being obliterated by the left cult. apparently reports indicate that Cece Teifer, a black quote-unquote woman who was born a male, swept the race, beating out the second-place runner by a whole second. And Cece is actually a guy. And this is going to end natural, biological female sports. Why should they get out there and try when there's no way that they can win? All right, there's the music time for me to get on out of here and get something useful done with the rest of the day. Please stay tuned for John Stedmiller, although actually I think somebody else is taking his show today. And whoever it is, I'm sure they're going to have lots of interesting things to share with you. So please take what you learn here, share it with everybody that you know. Please help spread the word about Republic Broadcasting. Please help spread the word about whatreallyhappened.com. Pardon me for my froggy throat today. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.